Thank you for coming to our session. First session of the conference. Everybody still has a fresh brain. Nobody's too tired yet. We stand between you and lunch. So that can sometimes be a problem for folks. I wanted to start by saying that the presentation that we have here is slightly different than the presentation on the app. The presentation on the app has more slides, and a couple of them got rearranged between now and then. But everything that we're going to say today is still covered on those slides. We just kind of condensed things down a little bit. So the folks on the webcast may be seeing a slightly different version of what we've got here on the screen today for you guys. So don't panic. We're still going to get to those slides eventually, those of you that are watching from home. So my name is Ren Mills. I am the Assistant Director for the Center for Innovative Teaching and Learning at Western Kentucky University. Try saying that 5 times fast. We're still getting used to it. It's a new name for us. We are going to talk today about faculty who don't necessarily buy into or believe in the ideas that support the Quality Matters program, which I'm going to guess a lot of you might have the same kind of problems on your campus, that you might have faculty that maybe wrinkle their nose or just completely dismiss the program. Before we get started, I'll let Alicia introduce herself.
Thank you. Since we are webcasting, and hello to those folks that are joining us online, really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your busy day to join us just for a little bit for this session, whether you're doing it online or doing it here. This is a little different for me, specifically because I'm standing at a microphone. Ren and I were talking about it earlier, and because of our wonderful folks on the webcast, we're going to be very conscious of standing in front of a microphone, which is kind of hard for us. But that's okay. I'm Alicia Pennington. I am an instructional designer in the Center for Innovative Teaching and Learning. As Ren mentioned, we started that. Everybody reorganizes. Has anybody not reorganized in the last 2 years, in their university? So we're still trying to figure it out. I still answer my phone, distance learning. I'm like, no, I'm not with them anymore. But I work with faculty. I also work with folks that do continuing and professional development related to Quality Matters. I am the QM coordinator and course review manager for Western Kentucky University. That's a new role for me, but I am definitely enjoying it. So in this session today, when you leave, we have objectives, we realigned, so we kind of took out some slides. When you leave, we hope that you can describe the faculty learning community model, which is what we used. Also discuss some methods for engaging those reluctant faculty with the Quality Matters program, and also identify some strategies for and programs where you also might be able to hide Quality Matters. Kind of like if you've had any kids and you really want them to eat their vegetables and they hate vegetables, you try every place you can to stick those vegetables in the middle of that maybe grilled cheese sandwich or something like that. So that's what we did. So we're really excited to share that with you guys today.
So yeah, Alicia kind of remembered to talk about her roles of Quality Matters, so I guess I should probably do that too. We actually share the QM coordinator stuff in case one of the other of us is away at conferences or something comes up. I'm also a master reviewer and I'm a facilitator, both online and face-to-face for the programming. So that's part of why APPQMR is up here on the slide. So our QMPD strategy, like Alicia said, a couple of years ago, we decided that part of the way to help spread the love about the Quality Matters program on campus was to start hiding it in places. That doesn't mean we don't have overt, this is a QM program initiative, come to this types of workshops and webinars and events. It just means that we started being a little sneakier about how we got it to faculty. I did a presentation on it last year. I did a QM success story earlier this year on it. So you can go and watch that recording if you're interested in learning a lot more in detail about that, of what I'm about to encompass down into one slide here. So we have an intro to QM webinar, which is basically the QM quickie that some of you may be familiar with. I think it's Arizona State that shared that a couple of conferences ago and let everybody have those slides. So we have that. It's about a 15 to 20 minute webinar. We usually do that right before we offer the APPQMR workshops to get faculty introduced to the idea of it if they've heard of it and don't really know what it is. So that one is obviously pretty overt. It's not hidden at all. We also created some standard by standard workshops where we literally go through the QM Rubric workbook, one standard at a time. Faculty bring their laptop, open up the one course they want to focus on, they open up their workbook, and we go through each and every specific review standard, talk about what that might look like, give them a few minutes minutes to look at it in their course and make notes of, yeah, I've got this, don't have to worry about it, or I really need to fix this. But we don't fix it right then because it's not quick fixes. We want them to be deliberate about it. We divide that into 5 1-hour or 90-minute sessions, depending on how many people we have that are participating. So we do standard 1, where we really talk about what QM is, and we really spend a lot of time talking about the importance of how we start our courses. And then we do 2, 3, 4 and 5, and 6 and 7 and 8. So faculty have to commit to that. We usually do them 1 week apart. And we try to offer that at least once a year. And these are people who hopefully will go through a QM review. How many of you guys on your campuses have faculty that will do all this professional development, will revise their courses, use the self-review tool, talk to you about it all day, and never submit for a formal review? Because that's us. We have a lot of people on campus that know about QM, that integrate it into their practices, but they never actually go through that review. We maybe have, 3 or 4, maybe 5 reviews a year, but we have literally dozens of faculty who do buy into and use QM in their work. And then we do the Applying the Quality Matters rubric once a year. We always have at least 6 people sign up. Sometimes we have that maximum of 20 sign up. It just kind of ebbs and flows as things go along. And that's kind of where we came up with this idea for what we're going to share with you guys today. But the big thing is we do sneak it into things. So we integrate it into every presentation, webinar, workshop, camp, conference. There's always a slide in every single one of them that says Quality Matters Program Standards Addressed. Not met, of course, because it's a workshop or a webinar, but we address them. And so we list them out, each of the specific review standards that content touches on. And we say, if you aren't familiar with Quality Matters and would like to learn more about this, please get in touch with us about it. So if it's a 15-minute webinar, an hour-long workshop, or our week-long summer camp, everything we do, we integrate QM into. And it may not be pushing QM and overtly educating them about QM, but we're planting that seed in their head that this is a good thing and this is something you probably want to get in on. We used to have a lot of workshops and webinars, and even our summer camp is starting to go away. We haven't had it the last 2 years, even though we had it 20 summers in a row and always had 10 to 20 faculty members participating in it every year. Because faculty's needs are changing, their time commitment and what time they do have left has changed a lot too over the last few years. So we did a survey of our faculty and asked, number 1, what topics are you interested in learning about? Number 2, what is your delivery method that you prefer for that? And while some of them still wanted webinars, workshops, face-to-face consultations, the camps, the conferences, a lot of them, when we gave them the option of having a more intensive experience through a PLC instead of doing just a one-and-done type of workshop, they were really interested in that. It was something like 61% of faculty expressed interest in that, and that's a lot to us. Now, granted, out of our 700 some odd full-time faculty, only 100 of them actually participate in the survey, but that's still a significant chunk of people who were interested in this. And in addition to this, our ID team actually uses Quality Matters in their daily work that they're doing on courses with their team members when they're working, and talk to faculty members about it too when they have the chance as well. So this PLC model, Milton Cox, who's at Miami of Ohio, you've got a link to it there. That's a live link if you download the thing in the app, if you don't want to write out the URL, which is pretty short anyway. Is quite a good model, and it's working very well for us. We right now are offering, I think this semester, I think it's either 5 or 6 PLCs. These are times when faculty that are cross-disciplinary from across campus come together, and we spend at least 3, usually 4 sessions that are extended sessions of 90 to 120 minutes focusing on some topic. And it's like a little mini course for them. We cap it at 15 people so that that's enough for that we've got a good sized crowd. And if a few people don't show up, we can still have good conversations and get good feedback from one another. But we also, if we don't have 5 people, we won't run it. We feel like 5 is, if 2 people don't show up, suddenly that really changes the conversation in the room. It is also definitely a conversation. We are not getting up and lecturing at faculty members. We are sitting down and saying, okay, this is a topic that we're all interested in learning about or improving in our course and our teaching. We also have some on research. We have some on leadership within the faculty career path. And so we get together and we talk about these things. We also give homework for sessions in some of them. We had homework in our session. One of the other sessions that we offer, which is strengthening classroom teaching, They have a homework assignment every single time that is reflecting on some aspect of their classroom teaching. And also one of the assignments is going and observing one of the other participants and then coming back and having that conversation with the person about what you thought about it, you saw it, and they had a chance to watch the video, how that all worked. So the homework assignments, though, we feel is very important. They don't take more than 1 to 2 hours in between the 2 meetings. So what's the distance between meetings? Well, sometimes it's a week apart. Sometimes it's every other week. Sometimes it's a month apart. And the month apart's as far as we've gone. The ones that are really longer, like 4, 5, 6 meeting PLCs, those are the ones that we move to a month apart, because those are ones that if we're taking that long with that topic, we're obviously wanting them to really dig into it and do something with it. This PLC was not that big and long of a workshop, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But the big thing about these professional learning communities is that or faculty learning communities, as Cox calls them, is that they are very collaborative. They are very supportive. It's kind of what happens in the PLC stays in the PLC. We are not reporting back to your department head if you've admitted a weakness, a problem, or a concern with your teaching or your department. We are not doing any kind of reporting of anything, except for at the end of it, we give you a letter saying, this is the topic we discussed. Your faculty member attended all or 3 out of 4 meetings, or however many they attended, for this many hours of professional development. So they can include that in their tenure and promotion portfolio as part of their professional development section if they wish to do so. So with this in mind, grumpy cats seem to be a theme this morning. Everybody likes a grumpy cat. 2 summers ago, I was offering our APP QMR workshop, and it was full. There were 20 people in the room, and one of the people was a department head, and he was not kind about quality matters all day. And he wasn't just a little disgruntled about it. He was so negative that the other faculty members, even after I'd talked to him about needing to tone down his comments during a break, they started telling him he needed to tone down his comments. And this is beyond reluctant. He was saying how he was never going to let any of his faculty participate in quality matters workshops, which don't really know how you can control that, but okay. I just agreed with him just to, okay. He talked about how his biggest problem with it was that he had a faculty member in his department who had learned that, if you aren't aware of this, there are loopholes in the QM rubric so that you can still design a not so great course and get QM certified. And it is true. But generally, the people who are interested in doing quality matters, they are interested in improving their course. They are interested in best practices and good experiences for students, and they milk that thing for all it's worth and do everything that they possibly can to make a good course. His faculty member had found a way to get around that. And we didn't like it when he submitted courses for review, and we always encouraged him to do better things, and he was just like, nope, I met the standards. So that's where this department head was coming from. And he basically had come to the workshop in order to tell everybody, this is a waste of your time. It doesn't matter if it's based on research. Walk away. So I left that day, and I was pretty frustrated, and I wasn't really sure I'd handled him as well as I could. And I thought, how is it that I can come up with something that for people like him, I can bring them into the loop of this wonderful professional development program, especially in this day and age of the focus on retention in higher education. And we all know that online classes do not have the same retention rates as face-to-face classes. We need this program on our campus. We need that program in his area. So how can I get people like him to get Quality Matters and see that this is a valuable program, which he obviously did not. So he was our grumpy cat that inspired us to do all of this. So we came up with Strengthening Your Online Course PLC. That's how we advertise them on our campus as PLCs. Alicia and I co-facilitated this with the idea that every time we ran this PLC, a different instructional designer would step in so that faculty got exposed to different members of the instructional design team. So Alicia was the first guinea pig. I was happy that she decided to do this with me. It's a little adventure. We did not, in any of the advertising, in any of the materials, any of the discussions, mention the words quality matters at all, ever. And that's very important. Remember, we're sneaking the broccoli into the grilled cheese here. Got to be sneaky about it. There were 4 meetings. They were 2 hours each. They were once a week for a month on a Friday afternoon, which is why that last part's really important. We had coffee, iced tea, water, because this was in the spring. It was a little bit warmer. It was late April. It's starting to warm up in Kentucky. And then we had either cookies or brownies that alternated every other week. They seem to prefer the cookies over the brownies, if that's an important thing. But it depended who it was. I mean, cookies always disappeared, brownies have a plate left over. So that's something important to consider. But this was, we were kind of surprised. I didn't know how many people were going to sign up for it. I think we had 8 people sign up, and pretty consistently all 8 of them came every time. So we were pretty happy with that. Let Alicia talk about the design of it.
So it was a lot of fun to get together. We, like Ren said, we didn't want to mention QM, but we wanted to use all the standards and all the information because it's great evidence-based information. So we used the STAR system. QM uses points, we use the STAR system. And we'll show you in a minute. I have a sample of the worksheet that you can kind of see what it looks like. We also changed the wording and the tone of the annotations and also of the standards. Mostly it was more along the lines of taking out the word institution and using Western or WKU. It was taking out the word competency-based because we really don't do a lot of competency-based on our campus, so we took that out. Instead of participant, we use student. Instead of instructor, we use the word you. We just made it a little bit more friendly and really designed to the folks at Western Kentucky University. We realigned some of the standards. Again, Ren mentioned we only met 4 times, and really it was only 3 of those times that we had big content areas. So we looked at the standards and poured over them for a couple of days to see how we could realign and retitle and regroup some of the standards and be sure to include all the level 3 ones or all the essential ones so that we really made some best practices for all the faculty that were going to participate in this. And that's what we called it. Instead of standards, we called them best practices, and we gave them stars. And then with standard number 8, which is related to accessibility, QM has some great standards related to accessibility. There's only one, though, that is worth 3 points. The rest of them are worth 2. And at Western, especially in our department, we have high standards for accessibility. So we really raised everything up to 3 stars instead of 2. And we kind of changed some things to meet ours. And we have our own transcription service that we were able to kind of work into that as well. So that's how we redesigned and reworded some of the QM. Here's an example of what they would get. And we would give this to them every week. So as you can see, it says, items to look for and how it's important. So there's the standard, the items to look for. How important is it? It's the 3 stars. And then what it might look like in the course. Well, we took that from the annotations. And again, we just reworded it to some things that they might do. And if we knew that maybe a faculty did something a little bit different, we kind of put that in there so they wouldn't feel left out or have to ask questions. That was a lot of fun. And then we also made a section for notes. We did allow them to work on it there, but sometimes you have to go home and think about it, mull it over, let it stew, whatever you want to call it that you do. Just have to let it percolate. So they could make notes and then go back to it later. And of course, we didn't expect them to work on a course at that particular time because they could be teaching that course. But maybe over the summer, we really encouraged them to think about it and what are you going to do next time?
So I'll go back the slide just for a second. You'll notice that this is exceedingly similar to that workbook. I mean, really, we did not reinvent the wheel here. We just made sure that was that tweak of a bit different for any special circumstances we had on our campus. So any language that we might need to. And then also, we wanted to implant, though, 3 means good. So that when we did introduce the workbook to them in the very last meeting, which we'll talk about in a bit, they already had in mind that 3 means I need to do that thing. And we talked to them about if it's a 2-star practice, then it's a really good thing to do. And 1 star, that's still important to do. But 3 stars, you got to do that. That is like the cream of the crop best practice out there. So that said, even though we tended to focus on the 3 stars, of the essential standards, the first week we did cover all of standard 1. So they got to introduce to the 3, 2, 1 stars. And we talked about why some of those were more important than others. They could really see, how the 2s and 1s enhanced usability for students and just being able to feel comfortable in a course during the first week or 2 of a course when they got into it. But they also saw where you didn't have to have those things to be a successful course. So that was an important conversation to have that then would set them up when they got a copy of the rubric workbook at the end, that they got that and we didn't have to spend time on that at our last meeting. There was a lot of discussion that first time. We all talked about what our course was, what we thought, since this was the strengthening your online course, this isn't the I'm going to build an online course. This is I've got this course, I've taught it for a while, some things aren't quite working right, and I want to do it better. We talked about what's the thing you want to focus on in this course over the next 4 weeks. And so we got everybody to narrow it down to one course to focus on, which, just like a QM review, you can't do 10 courses at once. You got to do one course. So we wanted to get that into their brains as well. And we also just had them talking about, how do you do all these things? Everybody shared what they were doing right now. And what we really liked, and what you guys probably find in your work too, is that most of the faculty found they were already doing almost every single one of the things that's in Standard 1. So they were already feeling successful. They were already feeling like, hey, I'm doing good stuff here. I've got the best practices for this area down pat. Not so much the case the next week, but I think we all find that. So they had homework this week. And I think it's the only week they had homework. I have, part of my job is I do the graduate student training on campus for GAs that are going to become teacher of record in the classroom, which is an accreditation requirement, but also it's just a good idea. You don't want to slap students in front of students without any idea about how to teach. So I have a 20-minute instructional alignment video that talks about just the basics of instructional alignment, talks about how to write a good learning objective that's measurable and specific, appropriate for the level of the class within Bloom's taxonomy. So we asked them at the end of this meeting how many of them had heard of instructional alignment, and some of them were kind of iffy about whether or not they really understood it. I was like, well, great, because you've got homework. That will help you understand that better. I made that a very short 20-minute video on purpose. How many of you are familiar with the 20-minute mentor program through Magna? So we subscribe to that on our campus. They really like it. Faculty like it a lot. And so when I made that video, I made a timer on it. I timed myself multiple times before I ever recorded it. It was going to be 20 minutes or less. It was going to be Ren's 20-minute mentor on instructional alignment for graduate students. And that's what they had to watch before they came back. It wasn't a huge commitment for them. So again, keeping it within that 1 to 2 hours, it's doability. They don't think, oh, I can't do the homework, so I can't come back next time. They can watch that 20 minutes. So when they came back the second time, what we had done is, remember how Alicia said, we kind of rearranged things. We didn't cover everything in order, and we definitely didn't cover all the standards because in 4 weeks, we just didn't have time to do that in 4 2-hour meetings. We first talked about alignment when we got there, made sure everybody understood it, had them check their learning objectives, and of course, none of them had module or unit level learning objectives. So we had them pick a unit to focus on for that day in the discussion and maybe try to draft a couple, at least 1 or 2 for that lesson. And then we went through all of the alignment standards, because they're all 3-star standards, essential standards. We went through those for 2 through 6. It was a good discussion. There were lots of questions, lots of note-taking. This was the day when they had more note-taking done than any other day of things they wanted to work on in their courses. This is a day when they realize those little things that aren't aligned are the things that students complain about and never do well on. There was like a lot of aha moments for them on this day. So we considered it an exceedingly successful meeting. So I think one of the important things is, even though this was only 2 hours that we covered the alignment in, because they had watched a video about alignment before they got there, and it was a quick and dirty one, it didn't go, I mean, it's all that they need really to get the juices flowing, the conversation going when they get into the room and we say, okay, let's open your course and check for this stuff. Because if they had to really immerse themselves into actually going in and starting to align the course on their own as part of the homework, I think they would have gotten frustrated and maybe not come back. We did have one person who didn't come back and didn't ever tell us why she didn't come back. So I don't know if it had to do with she got overwhelmed at the thought of alignment, or maybe she just decided it wasn't for her. We won't ever know that. But I think the important thing is, if you do homework in a professional learning community, a faculty learning community, in between that first and second meeting, don't make it the whole 2 hours worth of homework, because that's when you might lose them. You want to, you're still grabbing them in here. You're still getting them interested in the information.
So then week 3, so we were halfway done. In week 3, we covered some additional course policies. There are, if you're reading through the standards in the QM workbook, there are a lot of places in the previous week that mention course policies, but there was a couple left, 3-pointers left, so we put them here. It talks about the assessment and measurement. That's about the grading, making sure you state that in your syllabus, and also making sure that in your syllabus or somewhere in your course with 3.3 that your assignments and the grading with those actually go back to to your grading policy. And then the learner support, so that learners know where to access help, like technical support, and also know how to access the accessibility office that might be on your campus or whatever that you might call it. So we did the course policy section, and then we covered accessibility. We did not teach them in this session how to be accessible. We did not go through a PowerPoint and say, this is how you add your alt text, this is how you add this is how you do this. We simply told them, this is what you need to do. These are all of the standards. Meeting accessibility, here's what it might look like. Here's some example of a good alt text. Because we really debated that as to whether that we wanted to teach them accessibility or not, but we finally came down to the conclusion that that wasn't the purpose of this particular PLC. If we wanted to teach accessibility, we have other resources that we can do that with, or we can make an entire other workshop or PLC and do accessibility. So that was week 3, and then week 4, that was the last one. That was really fun. We got them together and we asked them, what is your biggest takeaway from the last 3 weeks? And it really varied per person, but it really demonstrated that they had gotten a lot out of the 3 weeks. A lot of faculty really got the alignment was the big thing with them, and they were still really struggling with that, but struggling in a good way, struggling knowing that they could do it, knowing that they might even need to go back to their department head or their department committee because some of their objectives were department based, and work on that. And we also suggested to them, if you don't feel like you can get the department to move, then maybe just do it for your course. All of your objectives can go back to the department ones, but it's okay. So they were really working on alignment and working on instructions. As Bren mentioned earlier, she did the 15-minute quickie that she adopted from Arizona State, who shared that back when you guys were in Baltimore. So that worked really well. We discussed the self-review tool. We even gave them a copy of the workbook, and we even pointed out, see, it was a 3-star in our little page, but it's a 3-point here. And they were all really impressed that they were doing good. Some faculty that sometimes want to participate in these faculty development workshops don't think they're doing a good job, but really they are. So we really got the sense that they felt like, okay, I'm doing good, I can do better, and here's some things I can do better with, but that they were doing a good job. So that was a lot of fun. And of course, we encouraged them to submit their course for review itself. It was a very positive experience for us, but more importantly, it was a very positive experience for the faculty. They got exposed to Quality Matters, to the standards, to what should be done based on research in an online class for success. But we snuck it in there, and none of them were offended. None of them walked out and said, we're never going to do this again. So it was a lot of fun. So, how can you do this? How many of you are in the area of faculty development? And I know that most everybody. And I know from my own experience that your title will differ where you are. I'm an instructional designer. I do faculty development. So how many of you guys, has anybody ever run into some reluctant faculty with Quality Matters? So do you think that maybe is there a program that you have in mind, or maybe a workshop that you have in mind that you can kind of sneak it in? And then at the end say, oh, look, it's Quality Matters, and it didn't hurt you. You didn't die because it's Quality Matters, and you did it well. What questions do you guys have for us?
It's something to think about too. I mean, we created a new program because I felt like if I took something that had an established name on campus and just took the Quality Matters out, they would know that. Even if they don't read my emails, they know that. Yes.
We've already incentivized have a lot of our faculty go through it just to get the money, and some of them were very vocally opposed to parts of it during the QMR. So how do you come back around and sneak this in with the folks that are already familiar with what QM is and what standards look like?
So how did we sneak this in with people who already know what the standards are, what QM looks like? Not a single one of the people that was in that workshop had any familiarity with QM whatsoever. None of them. One of them, I guess it was like the third meeting, I think.
Yeah, it was.
One of them said, I heard something about quality matters. Is this something like quality matters? And we said, you know what, we're going to talk about that next time. So we were kind of shocked that, you know, if that was something that they knew about, she didn't mention it until it was about halfway through the third meeting. And we thought, oh man, our cover's blown. But we got through that meeting, it wasn't brought up again, and none of the other people in the room reacted to what quality matters was. So if they did know about it, but I think it'll be interesting to see if we can market this to departments where we know that we have resistance, if we can get them to buy into it. Let's talk about let's make your online courses better, especially ones that have highly online programs.
I'm sorry. She was
Okay.
Well, actually, going back to her question, like I already have a bunch of people also that went through QMR, so I was curious more on your first slide. You were talking the standard by standard workshops, like once they had taken it. I really was intrigued by that to then break it down because I think we all know you do the QMR and they are just like,
Yeah.
you know, to me, like, okay, let's break it up. Let's just start one. So I was curious if those were successful.
So the question is whether or not the standard by standard workshops are successful, because at the APP QMR, like she said, it's beyond a deer in headlights look. It's a, how am I going to do this? I don't think I can do this kind of thing, especially when they've seen an example course before and after, and they may not be at that level yet. And I would say they're successful because the faculty take lots of notes, ask questions. They often go and work with the instructional designers afterwards, but I think I've done those 4 times in the past 3.5 years, and not a single review has resulted out of it. Some people would consider that not successful. I consider it successful because they're asking questions, they're taking notes, they're working with the instructional designers, they're still using QM. It's just there's that faculty fear. If anybody finds the formula to get over the faculty fear, and I know money is a great formula, but we have no money. And I'm sure a lot of you have no money to be able to do that. Unless we built it into the course development contract that we have, because we do pay faculty to develop, you know, courses, and they have to fulfill the entire contract to get the money. I think that would create an ugly conversation about QM and put a bad taste in people's mouth, and I think that's why we haven't done it specifically. But I think they're successful because they're getting a lot out of it, and you can see them applying it, and they come back, they like put me in their course, and then they'll be like, look at this. This is where I did this with standard, you know, 4.2. Do you think this is appropriate? So we're still having the conversations. I know they're doing it, so I consider it successful. It's a good use of my time. That's why I keep doing it.
the question in the back.
So when you guys ran this workshop afterwards, did you see a change in perception of QM on your campus? Like, when you're like, hey, surprise, and then all the faculty, like, have they gone back and kind of spread the word?
We have not run it again. We're going to run it in the spring. I will say that our APP QMR this year only had 6 people in it, but we have kind of an odd morale issue on campus right now. We've just, our president retired. We have a brand new president. We're about to get a new provost next year, so we're in a weird climate situation. I will know from the spring, though, when I see what enrollment is, and if on the first day somebody says, is this kind of like QM, that's when I'll know that the word's gotten out about it. So I think the people that were in the programs they were in were people who wouldn't normally come to a workshop about QM. We had somebody from math in there. We had somebody in there from professional studies and business, psychology. That's where professional studies and business is where the grumpy cat was from. So that was important to us that person came. I don't think we had anybody from the humanities. We had people from social sciences, business, health sciences, but it was interesting that they were not departments we would have normally seen at the AP PQMR or even any of the other QM webinars.
The question over here.
Yes.
I wanted to follow up on the first question. So one challenge is if you want people to become peer reviewers, they need to complete QMR first. And now you're giving them a very QM focused workshop where they've spent a total of 8 hours. And now you're asking them to do either a 2-week online workshop or a 8-hour 1-day workshop. How have you approached that question of people that you want to become peer reviewers, that you've already done this intense QM related training, or have you approached that yet?
We haven't. That has not even come up. Okay, I'm sorry. So we've had them do this 8-hour instance of, I'm sorry, people watching at home. It's so easy to forget that you're there. I apologize for that. So after they've done this 8 hours together with us over a month, we're asking them then if they're interested in being a peer reviewer, that they're going to have to do either that all day, and this is the way we do APP QMR. We do the all day face-to-face experience, 8 hours in a room, being submerged in QM. And then you'd have to do that 2-week experience as well. Have we come across people feeling like maybe it's too much? Because then that's 8 hours plus another 8 hours plus 2-week commitment to become that peer reviewer. That has not come up yet. I know for a fact that one of the people that was in that workshop is very interested in becoming a peer reviewer. She did not have time because of a study abroad last year and a study abroad this year to be able to do it, but she's not going to do a study abroad next year. And so she actually literally has penciled it in on her calendar that far in advance to do it. And she's that interested. She calls me 2 or 3 times a month and asks me questions about specific standards. She's working on revising her courses to all have QM in them. I expect her to do that eventually. So, I mean, that's a really tiny sample. We had 8 people and 1 person has inquired about it. So I don't know that it's hurt.
Gentleman here in front.
Yes.
I'm not sure if everyone has had this situation. We have faculty that love they love the idea of alignment, but once we bring them into the online environment, they get everything, all the realities that they have no skill level to actually build something that is in alignment comes to face with them. I was wondering, do you have anything other than your current training, like a POC that might go into like actually how to build? I think you explained that right now, and that's why I really like this presentation. Actually show them a hands-on demonstration, or maybe show them what other faculty have done in the past or have met QM standards. My faculty have been approaching us like, we understand that alignment equals QM. We need real-life examples, and then how to build templates so that way we can move forward. I was wondering, is that something you're already doing or planning to maybe move forward with?
Repeat the question.
Yeah, I'm thinking about how to repeat the question. So when faculty member come in, no, it's a great question. When faculty members come into the APP QMR or to workshops like this and they learn about alignment, they think it's great, they want to do it, they're all on board, and then they start to tackle it and they realize it's a big job. And some of them may not even have the skills to be able to do it well. So do we have any programming that does that? This semester, we have a PLC that is actually focusing on a specific group of faculty that are involved with the quality enhancement plan on our campus and the assessment of that quality enhancement plan. And we're getting those faculty members to scaffold their assignments, and they don't realize we're teaching them alignment. But the first time we met, we talked about alignment. We sent them home with a homework assignment for it. And that's pretty much what that's focusing on. But that's literally had its first meeting. The second meeting isn't until the week after next. We're giving them a month to align just one unit. But I don't know that we have any other programs, do we?
We don't have any other programs that do that, but you brought up a very interesting concept that some of the faculty that go back to their online course and then they look at their course and it's always hard, they feel like they can't do it. And do we show them any courses that have met QM? And we don't, but what a great idea, because we do that for some other faculty development that we have. Here's, here's a bad course and here's a good course. Here are different ways to design a course. But that's a really neat idea. That being said, they can work with the instructional designers and we can pretty much do that. Do you have a follow-up? Because I have another question back here. Okay. Okay.
But I'm proposing, in this case, something I'm trying to build is a soft chalk cloud lesson that has a specific review standard that just focuses on one, because I'm looking for something asynchronous.
Okay.
They can go home during the weekend. I just need to fix one general standard. I don't need the full 20-minute video. I just need something 5 minutes. How do I do it? And then a template. So 1 page explanation video, and then maybe an HTML code.
Okay.
Like we learn, so that way they can copy and paste it, so they have a template to follow by.
Okay, so with those folks that are online, I'm going to try to repeat what he said, because man, that was an absolutely great idea, and I think that when you get that built, we all want a copy of it. So what he's going to do is he is looking to develop a soft chalk interaction that covers one standard at a time, and they give a little blurb at the top of what the standard is, and then there's an interactive piece to kind of show them what it looks like, how to fix it, and then even providing some HTML code so that they can put that in Blackboard and kind of really work on that and do that. What a great idea. And again, I'm going to, on all of us, we're going to give you our cards at the end, and when you get it done, you can email us. That's fabulous. Yes, in the back.
We actually do seminars where some of the faculty members that have gone through the internal review, what we do is we get information from them that are met, and we like to present during our seminars, we present examples to the different faculty members.
Okay.
This is standard 4.1. This is an example from one of your colleagues. This is a couple examples of how they got their match.
Thank you. Okay. All right. So we had a member of our audience share that's exactly what they do in some of their professional development when they're teaching QM, is they have some folks that have already met that standard and their course meets the standard to come and show the others that are learning, learn and teach and do, and then share. This is how this faculty met. This is what it looks like in Faculty X's and Dr. Y's courses. So that's wonderful. Any more questions? Yes. Sure. Y'all can pick which one wants to ask first. You're both wearing black and white, so either.
We have what we call showcase courses.
Showcase courses, okay.
Courses that are faculty, but their courses have been reviewed externally and internally reviewed. So after we do the APP QM, you're right, they are overwhelmed. We direct them to the links to our showcase courses where they can go in and look at what our other faculty members have done. So that's one thing that we do. So they get an idea of, I can do this.
Okay, all right.
Different examples. And the other thing after we do that, we offer a Improving Your Online course that does the essentials. So it's not overwhelming. So they can get an idea of, okay, let's just focus on those essential pieces. So we offer Improving Your Online course at our institution.
Okay, so there's another institution that does showcase courses. So after someone sits through the APP QMR and they're the deer in the headlights, then you guys give them a link and say, okay, here's some showcase courses that are at our institution that have gone through the quality matters review, so you can look at them and you can see that you can do this too. And you were saying, it seemed like you were saying that the faculty that do that really come away with, I can do this. I'm overwhelmed right now, but I can do this, it's capable. And so that works really well for you guys. That's wonderful. Thank you. Oh, okay. So then those faculty showcase courses then kind of become mentors to the newbies a little bit. If you have any questions, just, give me a call. I know you can be, that's fabulous. We have 5 minutes left. All right. What's your question? Yep. Similar to her. That's wonderful. I love this. Yes, ma'am.
What that is faculty members submitting pieces of courses that have met a certain QM standard as an example.
Okay, so coming in a couple of weeks is the QM IDA group is publishing some showcase courses. It's going to be online so people can kind of see them. And it's different examples of how different courses have met different standards. So we'll be able to kind of all go on and see that, and also some of our faculty will as well. Yes, probably last question.
Mine is actually following up with what she said earlier.
Okay.
Improving your online course.
Sure.
I will say that we have implemented it within the last 6 months, probably, and wildly popular with our faculty.
Okay, so another institution has implemented Improving Your Online course, and it is wildly popular with her faculty.
And because it says improving your online course and not quality matters,
Yes.
it draws them in.
Yes.
And then it's quality matters, they're not so mad about it.
Yes.
And most of our faculty aren't the ones that are going towards APP QMR peer reviewer. And so they're not mad about having to spend another 8 hours in 2 weeks.
Okay, so we have someone else that sneaks QM in. She calls it Improving Your Online course, and once they get there, then they realize that it's quality matters, but they tend to stay. They don't get mad at her and throw food, right? It's a QM thing. So that's wonderful. It seems like we're all doing great things at our universities to help faculty with quality matters and get them to improve their courses. Yes.
I'm kind of in the beginning stages, my institution, and what I mean by beginning stages of implementing quality matters, it's like a 3-year struggle. And we're now
three years and you're still implementing. We get it. Everyone else is going, yeah, I get that.
Finally, we've with faculty, and I'm an instructional, what they call me specialist, but it's slowly changing into designer. But now I'm meeting with instructors whose this semester will be their first time teaching online, whether hybrid or online, and I'm running into the issues of, you know, do you have an example of, you know, what I need to do in terms of quality matters? They do, it is required that they do have to do the APPQMR, but alongside of that, we do have the 8 standards, but we kind of separated it off of the rubric, and we kind of made it into, we reworded it as a checklist. Just, hey, just look through your course and see if you happen to have this. But one of the biggest questions, and everyone who's been talking about it, are templates and examples. I have a person who just emailed me yesterday. Do you have an example of what this is supposed to look like and whatnot? So that is major throughout, I guess.
Right.
Institutions. So
Yeah. So we have a gentleman who's still working on implementing QM in his campus for 3 years, and he's finally getting to work with the instructors, and they're coming to him with, this is great, but what does it look like in my course? What does it look like in a course? So he's wanting some examples, and it sounds like if you wait a couple of weeks, you're going to get some great stuff from QM's IDA, so that they're going to be showcasing. So that's wonderful. I think it's lunchtime. Thank you guys so much for coming. Enjoy.